a ricochet. There's a 3 count. I want to see an official decision.
Wrestlers who forgot the planned finish of a match. Number 1, Alberto Del Rio vs Randy Orton, Hell in a Cell 2012. One of the top matches on the undercard for the Hell in a Cell event in 2012 was Alberto Del Rio vs Randy Orton. Fans expected a great match out of the two of the best in-ring workers WWE had to show, and whilst the match was going great, the finish completely derailed the momentum of the match, and the quality suffered as a result. During the final few minutes of the match, Del Rio went to the top rope, but Del Rio did this with a confused look on his face, and it was clear that he had no idea what the planned finish was supposed to be. In an awkward botch, Del Rio would then jump down, and then Del Rio and Orton proceeded to have a very bizarre botch sequence where both men were completely lost. The closing moments of the match were thankfully smooth as Del Rio and Orton quickly got it together, and it showed the importance of remembering spots in the match, particularly the match finish. Number 2, Randy Orton vs John Cena vs Kofi Kingston, Raw 2010. The pay-per-view match in 2012 wasn't the only time in which Randy Orton had been in a match where his opponent forgot the match, as in 2010, Orton competed against Kofi Kingston and John Cena on Raw, and it resulted in one of the most infamous botches in Raw history. In the match, the finish went completely wrong. Kingston was supposed to be pinned following a punt kick, however Kingston got up early, meaning that Orton had to go off script and use an RKO. Orton, who had established anger management issues at the time, went on a huge tirade, and he notoriously called Kingston stupid in the middle of the ring. Orton drew so much attention to Kingston for getting the finish that fans were fully aware that Kingston had messed up. If Orton had just managed to remain professional, then there wouldn't have been much fanfare, and Orton and Kingston would have quickly improvised a new finish. But this unfortunate botch led to WWE cancelling Kingston's push indefinitely, and this real-life incident would be even cited when the two would embark on a main event feud in 2019. Number 3, Samoa Joe vs Sting, Victory Road 2009. No matter how experienced wrestlers are, nobody is immune to forgetting the match finish. In 2009, TNA presented their annual Victory Road pay-per-view, and one of the most anticipated matches on the card was Samoa Joe vs Sting. This was the match in which Sting somehow forgot the finish completely. During the match, Joe attempted to get Sting up onto the top turnbuckle to set up the Muscle Buster finisher, but Sting wasn't cooperating. After this weird moment of Sting not knowing the planned finish, Joe called an audible and put Sting in the coquina clutch, and the match would come to an end. It was apparent during the final moments that Sting and Joe were communicating, so it was likely the case that Sting simply forgot the planned finish, and Joe did his best to move the match along without too much attention being drawn to the mishap. Number 4, The New Day and Mark Henry vs The Usos and the Dudley Boys, Raw 2016. A table matches in pro wrestling can often be chaotic, and in 2016, Biggie managed to forget his planned involvement in the match finish. The February 8, 2016 edition of Raw featured an all-star tables match as The New Day and Mark Henry took on the Usos and the Dudley Boys. The finish of the match was supposed to see Biggie take a 3D through a table, however before this spot could even go down, Biggie had already rolled out of the ring to sell. Bubba Ray would then shout E with the hopes of getting the attention of the former WWE champion, and Biggie would insert himself back into the action and the match would come to a close. Bubba Ray handled this extremely well as he would shout it out loud enough for Biggie to hear, but not too loud that it would be so obvious to the audience that one half of the Dudley Boys was trying to communicate with his opponent. Number 5, Melina vs Mickie James vs Victoria, WWE House Show 2007. Whilst live events aren't usually recorded or canon, they do sometimes feature title changes. These title changes are rare, and in 2007, one occurred accidentally after Victoria forgot the planned finish to the match. In a match between the aforementioned Victoria, Melina and Mickie James for the women's title, the referee counted to 3 after a pin attempt from James on Victoria, and this actually resulted in James winning the women's title. The WWE could have pretended that this was a mistake or blunder, but thankfully they didn't, which certainly gave some credibility to the house show format. Due to WWE having no creative plans for James as champion at the time, they would book another match between Melina and James on the same show, and Melina would then get the title back. James would discuss the incident on the Ring the Bell podcast, and this is what the wrestling legend had to say. What happened in Paris? I don't know if I should speak because there were 3 parts. 4 parts to this match including the referee, 5 if we include Ricky Steamboat. It was obviously a triple threat match and Melina was the champion. Victoria was out there and I made the cover and the 3 count happened. It was like the championship was not heard around the world. It is in the history books though, because I demanded it. If this happened in today's WWE, then it would quickly be the talk of social media, and it would have been interesting to see how WWE would handle it in front of a modern day audience. Number 6. Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase and Wade Barrett vs Daniel Bryan, Ezekiel Jackson and Sin Cara, SmackDown 2011. In a 6-man tag match, it's of the utmost importance that each wrestler knows their planned spot, and it's vital that they tag in and out at the correct time. Unfortunately, during a 6-man tag match on SmackDown in 2011, Sin Cara forgot the finish, and when he mistakenly tagged in Daniel Bryan, the match fell apart. During the in-ring action between Bryan and Ted DiBiase Jr., Bryan randomly pinned DiBiase after the referee counted the 3. This was total chaos as everyone in the match looked completely lost. This is a match that Cody Rhodes will go on to call his worst match ever, and it's easy to see why WWE's resident top star holds the match in such low regard. Number 7. The Miz and John Morrison vs Matt Hardy and Mark Henry, ECW TV 2008. One of the talking points when it came to the WWE in the summer 2008 related to The Miz. During a tag match on ECW, The Miz, who was teaming with John Morrison to take on Matt Hardy and Mark Henry, was supposed to break up a pin attempt. This was designed to be a part of the closing moments of the match, yet when The Miz forgot his spot, the referee counted the 3 and awarded the match to Hardy and Mark Henry. This was painfully awkward to watch as it was evident that The Miz had messed up. Instead of reprimanding The Miz, WWE made the controversial call to fire the referee for the match, Wes Adams. This executive call received a ton of criticism, and it was a case of Vince McMahon needing someone to blame, and with him being high on The Miz at the time, the blame fell unfairly on Adams. Number 8. Becky Lynch vs Dana Brooke vs Charlotte Flair vs Emma, NXT TV 2015. Before the inaugural NXT TakeOver Brooklyn show, WWE would deliver a fatal 4-way between Becky Lynch, Dana Brooke, Charlotte Flair and Emma. When the match was over, all anyone could focus on was a huge botch by Lynch, who somehow forgot the match finish and was pinned by Emma as a result. According to Lynch in her book, she assumed the planned spot was to have Brooke break up the pinfall attempt. Lynch legitimately believed that Vince McMahon would fire her, but luckily, McMahon's main concern was checking that Lynch was okay. And number 9, Bret Hart vs the British Bulldog, SummerSlam 1992. Bret Hart is one of the greatest wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots, and his elite level performance at SummerSlam 1992 was a testament to this. Hart took on the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental title, and due to the Bulldog being in a less than stellar condition, Hart had to literally talk Bulldog through the entire match. Hart would discuss this in his autobiography, and according to Hart, Bulldog had been smoking an illegal substance the night before. When I arrived in London, hundreds of fans poured out of the hotel lobby to chant my name in the streets. I set out to find Davey, but he was off somewhere with Diana and his family. I didn't see him until the required entrance rehearsal at Wembley Stadium the night before the show. When I asked him why he hadn't returned my calls all summer, he wasn't able to look me in the eye. He fessed up that he'd been smoking crack with Jim for weeks and was now terrified. He'd gone back to being that same helpless kid I rescued from Dynamite 10 years earlier. Hart would then state that during the match, Bulldog had to openly admit that he couldn't remember any spots, so Hart assured Bulldog that he would carry the entire match. Bret, I'm effed. Davey panted as I had him clamped in a side headlock. I can't remember anything. Davey, just listen to me. I'll carry you. The fact that the match turned out so well is a testament to Hart, as a lot of top wrestlers would have fallen apart under these difficult circumstances. But Hart prided himself on being a ring general, and it was certainly on display in the 92 Classic. But there you have it, folks. Wrestlers who forgot the planned finish of a match. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.